Strike Freedom Gundam.
Hey, what's up again everybody? Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, gundam.tk, and I am here to give you my suggestion on whether buying this full burst mode of the Master Grade Strike Freedom Gundam is going to be worth your time and or money. Now when you look at that thing spinning around there in this kind of pose, you're probably saying to me, Robert, everything that you've been saying so far is pretty bad. And in a lot of ways it is, and I'm not going to hold back on that. And that's only because with the full burst mode I had really high expectations. I remember not buying it when it first went on sale because of the issues with the two gold colors. And when I finally did decide to buy my second Strike Freedom and I got the full burst mode for the gold and all of those accessories, etc., they didn't end up equaling what I wanted. Now that's not to say this isn't pretty good, but let's just touch on the bad things first. So first of all, there could have been a stand in the back. When you've built Master Grade Destiny, the way that it balances on the backpack keeps everything in place really, really well. And because of that, you have a lot more confidence, and it also hides what otherwise is this huge thing just going up there. And because it's got black at the top, there's three different pieces there. Even if you chose to use a clear action base, you're still going to have an unattractive thing in the front of your Strike Freedom. Now, the effect parts, let's get right to that. I fixed this just a couple minutes before making the video. I've gone completely against Bandai's bends. I've tried rebending them, everything I can do, and after a couple hours they're just going to be down on the ground again. So what's the point of them? The effect parts add weight. They don't give it a proper angle when you put them in. Basically nothing about these effect parts besides the whoosh sound effect that you want to hear is actually seeming to be worth any extra money. And when you combine that with the poles being completely useless, I already had my disappointment with the Master Grade High New, so I was expecting it, but I figured that this might be a little bit lighter, but no luck. They just don't work. Next up, you have the action base. So with the extra things that you're going to get, you get the effect parts, the poles, and the action base. And as mentioned, it's clear blue, which is good, but outside of that, because it's got these colors up here, you can't just use a clear one. So all of the extra things about the full burst mode are not really special. And the main one being the gold bling. When you see that coming around, it looks great, but I want you to please remember that I touched this up with a gold marker. Now, if I didn't, some of these hinges are going to look great. They're going to pop, but the other ones, and even the bottom of the feet, I've touched them up, but they still stand out and don't look quite as good as they should. Because Bandai, they could have just done 3 gold plates. Instead, they did 2 in the hodgepodge plate, as I mentioned in my parts review. And in the end, you get something that's a little bit makeshift looking. And you also end up wasting 1/3 of 3 different plates. And my final complaint is Master Grade Strike Freedom, such a great suit, and it has seals on the beam rifles, which is a little bit of a disappointment. One other complaint is just about the all-round difficulty in posing the legs, but that's something that can be overcome with a little bit of patience and practice. So what about the positives? And there are a lot, even though I didn't say as many as I could during the course of the review. First of all, this is the Strike Freedom Gundam, and whether we're talking here about the full burst mode or the regular one, this is something that, just the way 00 is expected and Exia was very expected, Strike Freedom and Master Grade was highly, highly anticipated, and when this came out in 2006, everybody was excited. And in so many ways, it lives up to those expectations. Now, going back to the full burst mode, if you just look at those wings right now with the Dragoons there, they just scream gold, and that's fantastic. The shininess makes you want to shoot off the Dragoons and use this stand, as poor as it is, just so that you can show off the gold that's underneath. And the fact that they did give you the main parts like the elbows, the hands, the chest, inside the Vulcans on the head, they put in a lot of trim with the gold that really, it just makes this thing pop in so many ways. Now going back to both versions, these Dragoons are great, and they're great for a couple reasons. First of all, the proportions and the shapes are great. The 1/100th and the 1/44th high grade, they can't come close to touching this. And when you combine that with the opening gimmick where you're just able to spin this up and they spread into position and open automatically, just plus on plus. When you combine that with the little gold trim inside the red parts there and the cool looking thrusters on the back, everything is a winner. And the gimmicks on the hips, how cool is that, that on each hip you can have 3 weapons, because you can slide the gray weapons to the back because of the skirt going down, then you can put the beam rifles on the side, and you can also put the beam sabers when they're not in use, or in Darth Maul mode there, on the hips. So just the fact that he's got that many weapons. And when you combine that with the posability of the legs and the arms both give you 180-degree bends. And it's taken Master Grades a long time to get there, but it's something that when you see it, it was pretty cool and exciting, especially all the way back in 2006. And what about the head? The head for me is probably the Strike Freedom's. It's so simple and so classic, the way it takes the best of everything, the original Gundam Strike, and it just makes them that much better. And when you put in the gold and the yellow and the light blue cameras, pretty much I think that they nailed the head just perfectly. And if you've got a good head on a well-proportioned Gundam, despite some of the facts and the posability, etc., a lot of those are forgivable. And then when it comes to the other things, like the beam rifles and the way they're the same but different and the transformation, I haven't put them together, but it's no problem making that pose and having them look down the double barrels. It looks great. Throw in the little bonuses like the clear shield that can go on either forearm, and the fact that the weapons are interchangeable, you can put them on both arms, something that even the perfect grade 00 Gundam doesn't allow you to do. Lots of good things here. So what's the final answer? Well, I'm not going to say, despite all my negativity earlier on, don't rush out and buy this. And that's just what I would say is you have the warning of don't expect awesomeness. And what I'm talking about here is these things at the bottom. It's just a regular action base, the fact that it has the horrible attachment, etc. These things are going to collapse at the drop of a hat. The extensions just add too much weight and the Dragoons are just going to end up facing the ground. That sucks. So why would you buy the full burst mode? And that's simply because of the gold. And I said before how great it is, but all I had to do was spend that $2 marker and it pretty much touches it up. Even on the elbows, once I started using the fresh pen with the fresh paint, it really shows up and you just get a pop that the gold from Bandai on these make plates is something that you just can't reproduce any other way, and the regular gold just doesn't do it. Now, who I'm not going to say should buy this kit is a professional. If you're good at painting and have any skills with that whatsoever, I would say please just buy the regular Strike Freedom and don't even bother with the full burst mode, because anything like that, if you can paint gold paints and make them look great, you can figure out a better way to mount those Dragoons as they go whooshing off. So does it capture the power of the anime? Yes, this one does, with a little bit of work. So if you want to put in the work, you should, but otherwise, just get the regular one, and I think you would be just as happy. And in terms of a mobile suit and a model, the Master Grade Strike Freedom, despite a few small flaws, is very, very good overall. In terms of a special edition, though, I wonder what else could they have done. With Exia, the focus was on the fact that it has a second form, some silver parts similar to the gold ones, and the lights, etc. With Destiny, you get a whole bunch of effect parts that end up adding huge weight issues, but you do get the wings. So what about Strike Freedom? With the high grades, you got these blue parts, and you get 2 of them, where you can have the Dragoons, you can have 4 of them shooting off, and it looks pretty cool. But is there other things that you could have thought of, something that would have made this, besides just the gold and the other disappointments, worth the title of being a special edition? But in the end, that's just my opinion, so why don't you let me know yours? This kit's been out since 2006 and Strike Freedom being popular. I know a lot of you have this, and I know you must have your own things that you love and hate about that. So why don't you throw those down in the comments down below for everybody to check out. Anyway, as always everybody, Robert184, gundam.tk. Thanks a lot for watching, and stay tuned for lots more. See you again, everybody.